Mic check. Mic check.
Oh yeah, baby. Let's
聞こ
go.
えますか Mic check. Mic check.
Welcome back,
Mic
everyone,
check. Mic check.
for the long-awaited return
Oh.
episode of How Many House Cats. We are here on October 31st of 2022. Halloween day after, at least a month and a half.
It's been about a month and a half, since our last episode.
Lots has happened since then.
Yeah.
So, welcome back, everyone. We're sorry for the wait, but life happens.
Life does happen, yeah.
Yeah, we weren't expecting to be alone on this one, but life gets in the way sometimes, and you can't always pull together the crew. So
Yeah.
it is just Parker and I here for the what are we? I think we're episode 11 now.
Or is this 10 or 11?
10 or 11. This might be episode 10.
Yeah.
Well, if it's episode 10,
And it's the big fucking tenor.
happy 10 to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been pretty busy.
We've been very busy.
with
Yeah.
with some big time activities.
Yeah.
We both took a break from the everyday life and went and did something cool. So
That's correct.
I guess you better fill us in, Parker.
Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit on the last episode that we did about our upcoming plans, which
Yeah.
have now,
Yeah, man.
happened, right?
So tell us about it.
So
I know you and I talked a little bit about this already,
Yeah.
but for the listeners, why don't you tell them how your little adventure was?
Yeah, so I went on a 2-week trip to Europe, first time outside of North America, and I must say it did not disappoint. Yeah, we can dive a little bit more into it, but why don't you share
Yeah, for sure,
what
man.
you did?
This was right near the beginning of our long hiatus of production. I went to a music festival down in San Bernardino area in California with my sister, and I mean, I can also dive into that. So, do you want me to start or?
Word. Well, I mean, you went on your trip first, so
All right, sure,
you
let's-
go ahead. Yeah.
keep it chronological,
Yeah.
So we I guess I'll do a kind of a Cole's notes, kind of some of the top experiences and some of the stuff that was pretty remarkable. So we flew down there on a Thursday night. Lots of layovers, got in around midnight local time in California, and found ourselves a hotel late that night. Got up in the morning, and then it was like, all right, we got to hit this festival. So it was pretty busy from that point on. We made a few stops. We hit Walmart and the gas station and everything you would need to, load up before the festival, all taking, lifts the whole way. Get to the festival grounds, guy drops us off, and we're like, all right. Well, we didn't get to the festival grounds. We got to the box office,
Right.
which is 5 kilometers away from the
Word.
festival grounds. So we're like, whatever, we'll figure it out. Guy drops us off, and we meet this absolute beauty, Craig. And Craig was guy wearing a tie-dye shirt and John Lennon glasses, and had a white panel van. We were like, I bet you this guy's going to the festival. And we hit him up. We're like, hey man, you going to the campground? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you think we could get a ride? No problem, man. So opens up the back of the van. Guys got all kinds of good stuff in there. And he drives us all the way to the festival grounds. Kind of snuck in there a little bit, and got into a pretty nice camping spot in and amongst the artist camp, which was a lot of the event photographers and some of the smaller band names, family members, etc. And we definitely weren't supposed to be there, but we ended up there, and no one said anything. So it was a good spot. We enjoyed some absolutely epic shows from that point onwards.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 days of grooving on the beach. I mean, the layout was just crazy for a festival.
Fuck yeah. How many stages did you say there
There
were?
was 5 stages.
5 stages.
Five
So just
stages
5
total.
concerts going on at all times,
Well,
kind of thing.
They kind of arrange it in a way where like there's at least 2 shows going
Word.
on at all times. And the big stage does kind of get some like there's good gaps between what's going on the big stage, and you can, especially later in the night, that's when the bigger names come on. But even then, if you're not vibing with those big shows, there's still some DJ playing on the opposite side of the festival grounds, or, whatever it is. So I mean, super well laid out. Half the festival grounds was kind of in like a fielded area with lots of trees, good facilities, bathrooms, everything else. Totally not what you'd picture after you watch like the Woodstock documentary, where they just have like beat porta potties that just get destroyed by the end of the weekend. It was very clean. And then the other half is like is a beach, and so it's all just sand and this beautiful lake setting, and that's where the main stage was. So you're standing on the beach for all these shows, which was totally cool.
That is so sick.
Yeah, it was just a really, really neat setup, super well thought out, tons of awesome bands, Tame Impala, King Gizzard, Reggie Watts, Pond, Beach House, Viagra Boys. It goes on. It was just
psychedelic porn crumpets.
Dude. Yeah, it was total mayhem for 3 days, but man, what a fun experience.
And you said there's like lots of art installations everywhere too, and like trippy interactive pieces that you can fuck with.
Lots of really, really cool stuff. So yeah, it was awesome, and definitely like less serotonin when you come home, because
for sure. I feel that
it's such a positive, fun experience that it's just everything you could want. It's 3 days of just splurging on like, yes, let's go to this show, oh, I don't have to do anything tonight, let's go to that show. And it's just constant for 3 days, and then you get home and you're like, oh yeah, all those things that I was putting off before the festival are still here. But while you're there, none of it matters.
Exactly. Dude, I completely relate with like when you come back home and you're like, oh fuck, like it's real lifetime, Well, and especially because like my trip was so much longer than yours too. Like I was away for 16 days, right? 16 days. I was out doing my fucking thing, and then I get home and it's like, the adjustment coming back is one thing, right? And you're adjusting the jet lag, right? And you're also fucking acclimatizing too, right? Like you don't think about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Calgary is 1,000 meters above pretty much every place I went.
Right.
And so coming back, you're acclimatizing, you're doing jet lag, and then there's also the state of where you're like, oh shit, like life is not as exciting now, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I definitely vibe with that.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, it's a very real thing, but I think it's worth it,
it's definitely worth it.
I mean, maybe if your trip goes horribly wrong and you come home depressed without the friend that you went with, then maybe you got a problem. But I mean, usually, you just get hit with that, like, this is regular life, and I was having a lot more fun a day ago. But
I mean, you get back into the groove, right?
You were also dealing with a lot of things I wasn't, right? Like you said you were basically traveling for like close to 48 hours on the way home. Like
it was 22 hours of plane rides, but there was also the ferry ride that I took right before I got to the airport too. It was about 48 hours of travel.
By the time you were like, I'm going to be heading back to Calgary from this point on.
Yeah. It was 48 hours away until I landed.
That's a long time.
It was a big long stretch of travel, right?
Yeah, dude. Yes.
So I guess I'll dive in a little bit to my adventure. Fucking October 8th is what it started. I flew to Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal, and I spent two full days there, and then from Portugal we flew to Madrid in Spain, and we spent probably 8 hours in Madrid and took a train to Barcelona. We spent like 3 full days in Barcelona. Barcelona was one of the hot spots of the trip.
Right.
And from Barcelona we took a plane to Nice, France. Spent a day in Nice, and then we took a train from Nice, about half an hour train to Monaco, Monte Carlo, and then we took like a 8-hour train ride during the day from Monaco to Venice in
Yeah.
Italy.
That's a bit of a haul.
Yeah. And fucking on the way to Venice, we stopped in Ventimiglia, which is like a very small town on the border of Italy and France. It's in Italy, and then we did a connection from train to train in Ventimiglia, and then from there we took a train through Genoa up to Milan, transferred there. Fucking wild train station, Milan.
Yeah, man.
Fucking crazy train station. That's a huge city, man. It's the second largest city in Italy, apart from Rome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had a connection in Milan. Didn't get to see Milan apart from looking out the train window, right? Which was cool, but it would have been cool to see
Now you
Milan.
still look around,
But yeah, and then right away, like our connection in Milan was like 15 minutes, right?
Right.
So like it was just like get on the next train and we were going, right? And we got to Venice, spent about 1 full day in Venice.
Yep.
And then we took a train down to Florence, Italy. Florence was really cool. How long did we spend in Florence? About 1 full day as well. And then we went down to Rome, where we spent 3 days. 3 days in Rome. Rome was really cool. We saw the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, and we went to Vatican City, saw the Vatican Museum and the Sistine Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool as well. And then from Rome, we took a plane to Santorini, Greece, and we spent like 4 days in Santorini. That was kind of our like, okay, like the trip's like winding down, like we're just gonna chill out for like 3 or 4 days and just kind of relax for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And we we explored most of Santorini. It's not a small island, but I mean you can definitely see all of it in like a week if you try to, right? Like,
right.
The island of Santorini is probably about the size of the city of Calgary, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and then I also did a hike in Santorini. There's one big mountain that's 800 meters above sea level. And so we did an 800-meter hike in Santorini, which was really cool. And then, the next day I took a ferry back to Athens, which is where I was flying home from. And that ferry ride was 6 hours. But traveling from my where I was staying in Santorini, getting to the port, and then waiting for the ferry, I'd say in total that was like a full probably 9 or 10 hour day. And then I got to Athens about 9 p.m. and my flight was in like 14 hours after I got to Athens, and so I just kind of beat around Athens for a bit. Had a really nice Greek meal.
Right.
Fucking some like authentic lamb, bro. Like
Yeah.
the best lamb
Oh,
I've
I
ever
could
had. It was
imagine.
straight. It was like
Oh.
it was like a slice of femur cut off
Yeah.
the bone, right?
Oh.
And it was just fucking lamb, dude. It was so fucking good. And then I didn't get to see the Acropolis, unfortunately, but I didn't go in, but I saw it, right? So like I kind of walked around it a little bit.
Yeah.
Saw the Acropolis from the outside. I just it was like 10 p.m. and I didn't have like time. Like I had to get to the airport, and it was a 45-minute metro ride from where I was at the Acropolis to the airport in Athens, and the metro shuts down at like midnight, right? And it was like 10 p.m. So I was like, damn, I'd really love to go check this out a little bit more, but I gotta get moving. And so I fucking took the metro into the Athens airport, and then I slept in the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
it is a tough one,
Mhm.
especially because my airline, I took Turkish Airlines home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was quite the
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
on its own,
yeah,
right? Fucking
yeah.
Turkish Airlines.
Yeah.
But the thing was, Turkish Airlines, when I got to the airport at like 11 p.m., Turkish Airlines, their next flight that was operating was my flight that was at 10 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't get through security until 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I was sleeping in the public area of the airport kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
And
that is how were the airport conditions? Was it okay?
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, fucking I had to so they had a few benches in the public area of the airport that were like friendly to people sleeping on, right? But like when I got there at 11 p.m., every fucking bench that was sleepable had people on it that were sleeping. And so fucking I was like, "Damn, how am I going to sleep?" I tried sleeping on the cement floor for a little bit. It was like too cold. Like you couldn't do it, right? Wasn't gonna fall asleep. And so I found one of the fucking benches in the airport that had like the handrails on all of them, and I fucking like I stuck my butt out, and so that my hips were going out, like were on the outside of a handrail, so my legs were on the seat and my torso was on the seat, but my hip was just on the outside of this handrail. I got like a solid 4 hours of sleep doing that. And then I woke up.
Were you a little sore when you woke up?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I got young bones. It was chill, right?
Yeah.
And then I did end up getting one of those long benches with no armrests, and I had a good another 2 hours on there. But in total, I had like 6 hours of sleep, right?
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad for sleeping in the airport, right?
Definitely be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah, and then woke up, had a coffee and a cinnamon bun because all these like businesses were opening up. And then went through security, hopped on my flight, which was delayed by an hour.
Of course.
Yeah, my flight was delayed by an hour, and my layover was 2 hours in Istanbul. And so I got there, and it was fucking crunch time, son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Istanbul airport fucking had like 6 different securities, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry, it had 3 securities, but I had to pull out my passport 6 times in the Istanbul airport. It was fucking crazy. I think part of that was just that I was getting on a Canadian flight, and Canada is one of those, a little more anal countries, right?
Right.
And so fucking it was a wild fucking security experience. Never had to pull out my passport 6 times before. But I got on the flight. It was an 11-hour flight. Which is brutal. I don't know if you ever been on a flight that long, 11 hours?
No, the longest flight I've been on was direct from Calgary to the London Heathrow.
Weird.
Yeah.
What is that, 8, 9?
Yeah, I want to say maybe 8.5 towards 9,
Yeah.
something like that. Which is plenty long for me, man. That's
Yeah.
Hey, so there's this thing that's called the Henley Passport Index.
Oh yeah.
Do you know about that?
That's like how strong each country's passport is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Canada's got a pretty good one, right?
We are pretty solid. We are we're tied for 8th. But there's about 30 countries ahead of us. So Japan is number 1 with open access to 193 countries.
Whoa, like every country in the world.
Yeah.
Almost, apart from like 4, right?
Very close. Yeah. So Japan, your passport gets you a long ways.
Wow.
Canada is sitting tied for 8th at 185.
That's not bad.
Which is still
That's
very
really good.
Very high. And as we go down to the bottom of the list, at the very back, Afghanistan with 27.
Right.
Iraq with 29. Syria with 30. Pakistan with 32. Yemen with 34. And Somalia at 35.
Wow.
Yeah. Nepal is also down there quite low too.
Oh, really?
North Korea is higher than all of those.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. But North Korea doesn't really let people out of their country, so that doesn't really
matter.
It doesn't really matter at that point. Yeah, man. I think it's a cool so like the way that they do this, so they've got a list here under their methodology for how they determine these groupings, and essentially they say like per one day each year they compare 227 so there's 199 passports in their database with 227 possible travel destinations. And for how they actually group it, they use basically a visa. And so, like, if you are from Japan, you can acquire a visa for residence in, all of these places. So essentially, your ability to get a visa in a different country is highly dependent on where you're actually from. It's less dependent on where you're going versus where you're from, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it wouldn't seem like that on surface, but yeah. Anyways, I didn't mean to totally ambush your story.
No,
there.
no, not at all. Fucking I was basically just droning on about my way back home, right? And then after that 11-hour flight, I had a 2-hour layover in Toronto. Had a fucking incredible burger. Yeah, I was missing burgers. And then hopped on a plane 4 hours to Calgary, and I went home and slept.
Yeah,
worked 7 hours later after I fucking landed.
That's crazy, man. North Americans love burgers.
Yeah, we really do, man.
But I'm so much a part of that. They're delicious,
dude. There's nothing better than a good burger, you know? Like,
right? Yeah, but I mean, you have like authentic Greek lamb, and you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. But it's not exclusive, you know.
Yeah,
you can have that, but you can still want a burger.
Yeah.
A good burger. You're gonna have to let me make burgers for you, man.
Oh fuck yeah, dude. How would you rate my burger on Friday night?
Oh man,
it's a pretty decent burger.
I'd give that burger a 7.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I'd put it in the 7 category.
It was missing some tomato.
Yeah,
it was missing some proper seasoning for sure.
Yeah. I do,
and it could have used a better bun.
Bun was a big one for me. And seasoning. In my ground beef and my burgers, I like to use a little bit of barbecue sauce.
Oh, word.
And so when you mix up the patties from your ground beef that you buy the pound, throw in a bit of barbecue sauce in there, and then throw down some onions in the pan before you put the burger on.
Yeah. Dude, I've ripped that.
And then they caramelize, and then you press them into the onions, and that's a good way to infuse that meat with lots of flavor.
Yeah, dude.
Now, this guy also strongly disagrees with American cheese on a burger, the Kraft singles.
Yeah, dude, I'm like, when it comes to like a high quality burger, I'm 100% about that real cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I think real cheese is fantastic on so many things, but a burger needs American cheese.
Word.
It's an American meal.
What is a Kraft single even like made of? You know?
Mayonnaise, probably.
Mayonnaise. See, we don't even know. Yeah, it's like
something like that.
All I know is that I can put a piece of Kraft single in the fridge and come back 7 years later, and that shit's pristine.
Yeah, man. But I mean, it's not like I'm eating 20 of the things a day.
No, yeah.
I have like a couple of those slices, bi-weekly kind of thing.
Sure.
And so maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
And so if it's at that rate, they've been around long enough. It's probably not gonna.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I am a fan of a Kraft single.
Probably not gonna kill you. So I got a little backtrack stat for you here.
Okay.
The area of Calgary. Do you want to take a shot at how many square kilometers the area of Calgary is?
327 square kilometers.
Okay. And what's your shot at Santorini?
Santorini. Ooh. 500.
Okay. So, this surprised me as well. Calgary comes in at more than double at 825.3 square kilometers.
Word. Okay.
Now, Santorini comes in at 76.19 square kilometers.
76 kilometers squared?
Yes.
Whoa, man. So Calgary's
less than a tenth.
Bigger.
Less than a tenth of the square kilometerage.
That is crazy.
And
that includes all the islands of Santorini?
Yes. So essentially, I think the reason it's messing with your head is because of the horseshoe type shape of Santorini.
Yeah.
That is mostly water. And so you don't actually have a ton of land area in Santorini. You've got a shape of where you look across and you go, oh, there's land that's a ways over there. But it's all water between you and there, right? So, Santorini is quite low.
Wow,
it's at 76.
Small.
Calgary is also freaking big, man. 825. I wonder what the area of Tokyo is. Ooh. Yeah.
All right, let me guess.
Take a shot.
Tokyo, I will guess 4,000 kilometers squared.
All right. It's half that,
Oh, word.
approximately. And what do you think the population of central Tokyo is?
Central Tokyo, or metro?
Metro Tokyo.
Okay,
We're-
metro?
Well, we're not talking about greater Tokyo area. We're talking about still within Tokyo city limits.
Okay. Oh, like Tokyo, the city. Okay, well, I know that I'm pretty sure the metro area or the greater Tokyo population is like 39 million, right?
Yes.
But I don't know how much of that is made up by Tokyo proper, you know?
Right. It's 13.96 million
That's pretty crazy.
people in an area of 2,000 square kilometers. It's a lot of people per square kilometer,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
That population density is outrageous.
Oh, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, man. I do like my space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Calgary is great for that. I mean, one, I grew up on a farm, so
Yeah.
you know my inclination to space. And you were also a small town kid.
Yeah.
You know, you like your
Lots
room.
of fields. Yeah.
And even living in downtown Calgary, which is probably one of the more spread out downtowns that you'll come across in terms of cities this size. And it was a lot, man. I mean, great, super fun to live in, but I mean, just like, you know, shoulder to shoulder all the time. You know, the roads are narrow, you're stacked on top of other people, and, you know, in and out, you're just, you know, encountering so many people.
Yep.
I can hear the cat meowing outside by the door. I think I should go. Let him in.
Word.
Let's do a brief pause edit.
Brief Lloyd break.
All right, we'll be back. All right, we're back
All right, we're back.
after an unsuccessful Lloyd retrieval.
Yeah.
We thought he was there.
Biggest Lloydus was
He
nowhere to be found.
He definitely was there. He just buggered off
Yeah.
when we went down there. He's like, I'm gonna make some noise, but no, you guys, I'm not gonna allow you to take me yet. So I was thinking, Parker, in the the festivity spirit. If you have any interest in talking about the paranormal world,
Word.
I know I've had one run-in in my life with the paranormal, which I do believe we
did speak about on the pod.
we discussed very early on.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to ask you, you know, where you really sit on the whole paranormal thing. And we may have gotten into this, but I don't really recall the entirety of the conversation. So you know, given that it's Halloween, I feel like it's a fitting conversation to have.
Definitely.
Let's do a little breakdown on you know, to what extent do you believe in paranormal activity and your witnessing of it, and you know, why or why not it might exist.
I'm super on the fence about it. I've never personally had a personal experience with anything paranormal, but I definitely am not one to go, oh, you know, there's no way kind of thing, right? Like,
so what makes you give it any form of credibility?
I don't know, dude. I just feel like we as humans, we don't have the facilities to say exclusively that anything is true or not true, you know? And so I think, you know, lots of people have had paranormal experiences, and, you know, when such a high number of people have had a run-in with something like that, you know, that in itself gives it some level of credibility for me. I mean, I guess kind of the same thing goes for religion too. Like, a huge population of people believe in religion too, and, you know, just because I personally don't necessarily believe in, you know, one God or another, I definitely believe in there being something outside of what we can perceive. And so whether that takes place as a god or a ghost or some other paranormal thing, like I just feel like, who am I to say, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where I sit on it. Like, I just personally haven't had an experience with anything paranormal, and so
I think
until I do, I got nothing to say about it, really.
there was an episode of Lex where he talked to a bishop. I don't know if you ever listened to that one. It was with a high-ranking religious figure.
Right.
And Lex asked him, what does it mean? What is God, or who is God? And the bishop described it as to be. So it's the existence of existence, in a way. So the everything here, that we can touch, that we can see and perceive, it exists. It's an object and it exists in space, but there is a level beyond that. It's the realm in which that existence takes place. That is what he essentially described as God, is the
interesting.
The greater, from like a scientific perspective, you could almost call it the universe, but it could be very much more than that. But it is really just to exist is to be an object, to be the realm or the plane in which that existence exists is God, which I do think leads to a very interesting parallel between religion and science. Because the more and more we find out about the universe and what's going on around us, the more we see this vast plane of existence in which everything is in, and its beginnings are still a little unclear. We have a pretty good idea,
right?
But we really don't know. And the question of what came before that, the absence of time, it's something that we can't even perceive, and science is chasing that answer. But essentially, the start of the universe is also the beginning act of this God figure, And so maybe God and the universe, by that definition, are very much the same thing. The universe ultimately has this omnipotent power over us. It's everywhere, and every single thing that exists is a part of it. And it was the thing that determined everything that's happening right now. And God is very much the same way in a biblical sense. It also kind of oversees the entire happenings of everything that exists in the same way that the universe does. So maybe they're the same thing, maybe not.
That's a really interesting thought. I like that thought a lot.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but cool nonetheless.
Well, and then one of the ideas that fascinates me a lot as well is the fact that, like, we can touch this table and we can see each other and like, there is some reality to that, but also it's just a representation of what's really going on too, right? Like this table, we perceive it as solid and it has a certain color and a texture to it, right? But I mean, there's a liquid kind of aspect to it as well, right? Like, there's particles vibrating inside, right? And there's temperature and everything. Like, there's a lot going on, right? But we just perceive it as
our brain's
a solid object, right?
Yeah, our brain's absorption of what this is, what's in front of us, is just it's a mental image. That's all it is. This actual concrete thing in front of you that you can see is very different than what you can actually see. Yeah. That is very interesting.
Well, and then it goes one step further too. One of my favorite thoughts to think about recently is tectonic plates and shifting, and how the land that we live on is very much liquid and it's constantly moving, and it's never it's never in a permanent state, right? Tectonic plates are shifting and they're recycling material and they're always moving, and yet we perceive it as very, very permanent.
Yeah.
And yet it
Extremely
is anything
stationary.
but that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, I've been, as you know, I've been listening a lot to the Fall of Civilizations podcast, and it's very interesting to hear how when the whole Pangea continent decided to split,
Right.
and what that meant for human history, and how we have, evolved as humans. It's really, really neat how that divide totally has changed every civilization to exist, and even our evolution, and how it's changed how we operate as humans, how the Neanderthals interacted with Homo sapiens in Europe, and how you had native humans to South America that were on a completely different path than what the Europeans were on, and the collisions of these societies that have led in their entirety to where we are now. And to keep it on the line of what you can perceive and what you're feeling, I don't think we would really understand the world, and our perceiving of the world would therefore be different had the course of humanity not been what it was. And all of that, shifting of what was happening underneath us, and the planet moving, and how that's shaped the way we behave today as humans.
100%.
It's I think right now, this is going to get a little tangential, but I do think it spurs an interesting conversation. Is the age that we're living in right now is something that we accept as the present, but in terms of global history, is something like never before, and it's only happened in the last 100 years. And think about how old the planet is, and how long humans wandered around. I mean, it's millions of years, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, in the 90s, boom, you've got this thing called the internet. Instantaneous global communications, and how that has significantly changed the outcome of humanity. Like, you can order things online. Our lack of independence has become higher than ever, which leads to more and more consumption, things brought to us, which is more and more plastics and production, which then impact the environment, which is going to change the planet forever. All of these things that just stemmed off of the internet, that it really, really changed things. And I think we're in a time that, if somehow as humans we make it through this, and 10,000 years later we look back in the history books, there will be like the rise of the global humans. And I feel like we may have our fall one day as well.
Well, I think almost equally as important of a evolution in our technology as the internet. And don't get me wrong, the internet's fucking huge, right? Like, that is that's a big fucking change in the way we get business done, right?
Absolutely.
But I think almost even equal to that is our development of air travel, right?
Yeah.
And just our ability, because like we were never able to really go most places, right? Like in order to go, across the world,
by sea.
Yeah, it'd be by sea, and at that time, like 100 years ago, like you'd be looking at fucking like 6 weeks of travel, fucking even more than like 6 months of travel to get somewhere, right?
The Spaniards in the 1500s, when attempting to conquer Central and South America, in good conditions, they could navigate back to Spain from North America or even South America in about 6 weeks if conditions were good. If conditions were poor, you'd have 2 to 3 months of travel. And it's such a crazy advantage when you think about intercontinental travel.
Oh, now it's like 7 hours.
Yeah,
right. Like it's crazy.
And now it's so easy to do. Not anyone, but mostly everyone can do it. Unless you're from Afghanistan, then you can only go to 23 places. But I mean, that advantage of intercontinental travel has been it's been a world changing, a history changing event for hundreds of years. I know we've gone into the Göbekli Tepe conversation lots, but there was that kind of global travel where it was very what we think is primitive, but maybe boats back then and people being able to move across continents, and then it kind of goes dull for a while, and people pop up on both sides of the pond, and people on islands live isolated. Then all of a sudden you've got boats, and it's a primitive form of intercontinental travel, but it's
huge at the time.
But it's that nonetheless. And so all of a sudden you've got this, from like a Darwinian perspective, you have two isolated environments where the fauna on that island, even, any living being on that island, which is essentially, North America, South America versus, Europe and Asia, anything on those large land masses have evolved on their own. And now all of a sudden you've got a bridge that really came extremely abruptly. When you think of like how long it would take for a land bridge to appear and disappear, that's a tremendous time scale. But now all of a sudden you've got these little things that can go across, and you start connecting those environments. And so if you take an island that's, say, the rabbits are the peak predator on that island, and then all of a sudden you bring across wolves, it's game over.
Oh yeah.
And it was those environments weren't ready for that, and it wasn't a gentle introduction. It was an unnatural human influence that all of a sudden completely changes that environment. And so you have species that are not evolved to deal with the competitors that are being brought to them. And it's happened on a human scale. And so 500 years ago, boom, you've landed in the Americas, and there's this total other version of human that have not discovered iron, and they're so comparatively primitive in a lot of ways. Now, advanced in certain ways, but primitive in a lot. In terms of military might, extremely not even close. And so once you have that connection, it's a wipeout in a tiny sliver of time. And then all of a sudden you've got planes, that then come along, and you can fight wars with planes. And so you can fly across oceans to drop bombs on other countries. And then you can start carrying passengers. And then you build more and more of those planes and make it more and more accessible to the point where everyone on the planet is moving between one continent to the next, and even across their country. And the impact that had on our society to a lot of the civilizations of the Americas, that meant it was the end. To have that kind of travel meant it's game over. So it does beg the question, we've only had that for 100 years. That's not very long. And passenger travel has been more like 50, that it's been maybe 60, that it's been, widely used. What's going to happen with that?
Well, you can even, like, just from, my experience in Europe there, you can see how that's affected language in a huge way, right? Like, every country that I went to speaks pretty good English, right? And that would, like...
English is a very universal language.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel like without air travel, and especially with the internet now too, like, English is almost becoming a universal language of the world, right? Whereas, You
It
go
is
back
the
200
universal language of
you go back
engineering.
200 years ago, and every country was so isolated in a way.
Yeah.
Everybody spoke their own language because we weren't connected.
So I've had this thought before. It was a conversation I had with my dad quite a few years ago, actually. But do you think that the world might end up with a universal language?
I do think we're going that way 100%.
Do you think that's going to be a hybrid language, or do you think it is going to be a language that already exists?
Well, it definitely won't be a language that already exists. Whether it is an evolution of a language that already exists, or it's an agglomeration of a bunch of different languages that already exist that then evolve. I don't know.
Do you think that language is going to be biologically created, or do you think it is going to be some kind of technological or artificial linking that allows humans of every dialect to instantaneously communicate in a way they couldn't with their previous language?
See, that's a good question. The way the AI is going now, it could easily allow us to communicate before we develop an universal language naturally.
Yeah.
But I do feel like even without the development of AI, we would come to a universal language given enough time.
Right.
But I feel like AI is probably going to be.
I think it's going faster.
I think it's going to be what allows us all to communicate with each other.
Yeah, it would really make sense at this point, with how fast that world is advancing versus how quickly tongues are changing. I mean, even when you look at, in terms of colonization, look at Canada, Quebec French versus France French. The French that is spoken in Canada is spoken because of French colonizers. But in a 200-year span, it's morphed.
It has changed so much.
But it's still French.
Yeah.
And English, we have very different usage of our speech and very different accents, even within the same continent.
Yeah.
And I think with this level of global communication, it's going to start taking those differences and conglomerating them as time goes on, because there is no longer a massive gap between us and someone and Mississippi.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no huge separation anymore, right?
Yeah. And when dealing with online meetings, you're talking to people over the phone, over the computer. A lot of our communication is text-based at this point. So lots of communicating through emails, just through the use of the English language. And so now you've removed accents out of the question, and I think that accelerates the merging of those dialects of English
definitely
coming into the same place. And so that could be happening across the board. But I mean, from a population perspective, a lot of people speak Hindu, and a lot of people speak Mandarin, and a lot of people speak English, and a lot of people speak Spanish. And I think it's going to be hard to, once you condense those languages, it's going to take a lot of time to
definitely
move those. And I would say, hundreds of years at least.
Oh, 100%.
Unless it is accelerated by the technology that we have, which it almost inevitably will be.
I think it'll be one of those cases where it's a device that you can connect into, where you have instantaneous translation between languages, right?
Yeah.
I think that technology is coming very quick and probably within our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a cool conversation, though.
It is, man. It's super interesting. I mean, technology is evolving at a very rapid rate at this time.
It's hard to imagine
in
where
our
it's
planet's
going,
history, in our species' history. It'll be interesting to see if this level of acceleration lasts, or if it leads to a downfall of some kind, or if it just tapers off.
I did hear about this statistic a little while ago in terms of population numbers on our planet, and we have a kind of a general consensus that overpopulation is a problem.
Right.
I know that's definitely how I used to think. And I can definitely see it in certain cases. There are definitely localized areas that are overpopulated. But we have a society that is almost built on population growth. When you look at the stock market, you have companies that are either coming up with a new service or something that people want, or a product, or you have a business that has not changed and is simply garnering more users as time goes on. And that side of the stock market relies on the growth of population.
100%.
And what's happening, I know Japan has an issue with this. A really interesting metric for population age is looking at the amount of adult diapers being sold and the amount of youth diapers being sold.
Right.
And adult diapers come with old age and kids diapers come with young age.
Yeah.
And so it's shockingly simple but extremely accurate representation of what's happening within your population.
I've also heard about this too.
And in Japan, I know that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking to rely on an economy that consistently goes up, I think it still has time. I think the economy is definitely going to continue to rise in terms of index values and how much money people are making and how much money people are spending. I think that is just going to continue going up and up and up. But it's naive to think that it won't reach a breaking point before it all becomes theoretical, or that there's no real value to it anymore, and everything is so inflated that none of it makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
And it's eventually going to crash because there's not going to be enough people to keep those numbers sustained. And it's going to come down at some point. And
well, yeah, there's a maximum carrying capacity of our planet, right? And we've spoken about this before as well.
We have, yeah. I mean, that's like,
who knows where it is, right? I mean, you can make estimated or educated guesses on where that limit is, where that carrying capacity is. But I mean, really, like, when it comes down to it, we don't really know how many people this planet can sustain for a long period of time. Right?
That carrying capacity, at least in the sense that I know carrying capacity, is the time-tested version of carrying capacity, where you look at environments and what happens with those environments over time. But that has almost been entirely through natural observation.
Yeah.
I think we're in a very different...
Yeah, technology plays a huge role.
We're in a very different scenario now where we have manufactured as a society a lot of factors that could impact the carrying capacity of our planet that just haven't existed before. I think we're dealing with new things now that it's kind of like...
Definitely.
It's kind of like when parents have their first kid, and it's everything for that first kid is your first. And as it grows, there are things you have never dealt with before that you just have to try and figure out. I feel like as a society, we're in the same position where we're just going with the flow. We can't stop it at this point.
Right.
It's going, but we're running into things as time goes on that we're trying to figure out how to deal with. And a lot of those things could be very problematic.
Yeah.
But I do also believe that us humans can come together when we need to manage our own survival. That's the optimistic.
We hope so, right?
It's the optimistic side of thinking. 100%. But I mean, there's a lot of what we see in terms of what is brought to us is, in media is negative representation of humanity.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of really smart, really bright people out there that do want to do the best thing for the world. Yeah. And I feel like those are just not the people that you hear from because it's not controversial enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, we thrive on negative shit, right?
We love drama.
We love the drama.
We really do. I wonder why.
I don't know. It's got to be an evolutionary advantage to it.
Yeah.
To some degree. I don't know what
I just don't know what that would be. But I mean, think of like true crime podcasts. Like
Yeah.
that is the epitome of drama, man.
Yeah.
It is just constant on the edge. Oh, we got to find out, this is some big time gossip,
Yeah.
But humans love things like that.
Mhm.
And we like seeing the excitement and the change. And I wonder from an evolutionary perspective what might cause that. Or maybe if it is simply a byproduct of other evolutions that we
Well,
made.
I think I heard this one clip or whatever where there's kind of an explanation on why women engage so heavily with serial killer documentaries and whatnot. And like a lot of these serial killers will have like groupies or whatever. Like these serial killers will go to court and there's a bunch of like women in the jury that are like
Oh boy.
fans, right? And one of the theories I heard was evolutionarily, women would try to get very close to men of great power because that made them safer, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
And-
Interesting.
and so these women will, because technology is evolving way quicker than our bodies are and our brains are. These women, find a lot of attraction in men who are serial killers because they have so much power and they have the power to protect them, right?
So it makes me wonder then, I've heard, unfortunately never been a part of, but I've heard the phrase girl drama quite a bit.
Right. Okay.
Where, things happen amongst a group of women and, they gotta talk it out and they get excited over the drama and maybe not always in a positive way, but it definitely, brings up some emotion. And so you got to wonder, is that liking drama in general, if it's not just serial killers, if it is just drama, which from my experience tends to be the case, if it's just general drama, I don't know if the same can be said because,
right.
Is it really the attraction towards a powerful man at that point? I don't think so. And so what leads to that? Is it just a byproduct of the principle you were just talking about where, drama means power and therefore I like it? Or if it has something to do with gender, it's
an interesting point.
It's hard to say. It's very hard to say. Yeah. I mean, there is definitely there's a noticeable difference between the genders. I mean,
100%.
Men we like our things,
Yeah.
and most men are not big into the drama thing. And it's very curious as to why our other half is inclined towards that sort of thing. And I feel like we should disclaim at this point, we're not making blanket statements for every one of each of these groups.
Yeah, 100%.
We're talking broad strokes.
Yeah, broad strokes. There you go.
Yeah. So
Couldn't say it better myself.
yeah. So we're reaching our typical halfway mark. Do you want to throw a quick break on it and resume shortly?
Sure, man. Sounds good.
All right.
All right, we'll be right back.
We'll be back.
See you later.
All right, everyone. We're back after the minor break, and we've had something that we've been planning for the pod for a while. Parker recorded this, and I said I don't want to see this. I want to do a live pod react. So you're probably gonna have to throw these
preface a little bit.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us what happened here?
So we were in Nice, France, as I said earlier. Nice, France. Spent a few days. I think the last night we were in Nice, France. We had we decided to go out to a bar and kind of see what was popping in Nice, right? And so we found this really, really nice local bar. And we met lots of people or whatever, and it was in this like suburb area of Nice kind of thing, in like old town Nice. And then this fight popped off, right? And we were out on the patio, we were talking with our new friends or whatever, and we saw this fight pop off. And so I got a few videos of this fight, and we are going to we're gonna watch these fights that Calvin's never seen.
Mm-hmm.
And
This is the first time for me.
Calvin wants to react to these fights. So
Yeah. I guess we'll get a review after the fact, but
Yeah.
I mean, if the viewers could go along with my experience here as well,
I will definitely post them up.
it'd be pretty sweet. All right, so we're gonna open this this first one up. Now, do you wanna see this as well, or should I just play this for myself?
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it.
All right, so I can turn the computer not very well at all.
Here,
We
maybe
can-
turn it the other way, if you could.
This way. Can do the
Try to
prime
get it in the center there.
prime
Yeah,
podcast.
that's enough for me. Yeah,
Prime podcasting right here.
yeah, podcasting. So yeah, this is the start of the fight. I mean, it had been going on for you
noticed there was some tension.
Yeah,
at this
maybe
point.
15, 30 seconds, and then we were like, okay, there's some shit popping off, and so I took this video.
All right, so this is number one here. Oh boy.
You see, like, there is still no police. Nothing. And you know, Nice is the city in the country.
Yeah, they're not too pleased
Yeah.
with each other. Eh?
Highest amount of cameras per capita.
Yeah, you could tell there was some heat popping off right here. Right?
Yeah, something's gonna happen.
Like, there is no point.
I like
this is
how
our-
you guys are like 12 feet away too.
Yeah, this is our new buddy Alex. He's making commentary on it.
He's narrating.
So yeah, nothing really
Okay, so
happened
that-
in the
so
first video.
That's our preface.
Yeah.
We see that there are some issues.
Yeah, and then that had been going on for a little while, right? And then
Yeah.
some shit started to pop off for real, and I like whip out my phone, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the
All
next
right,
video.
This is video 2. Oh boy. Oh no. There's a motorcycle on the ground. Oh no. Oh, dude, hits him with the slap.
I bet it was a good hit.
That was an audible smack.
I don't know what happened. He just left you.
So you take money from the black?
Do you have any idea what they were fighting about?
No clue. They were speaking in French. Yeah.
Are you fucking pumpkin?
So you have said that. What's that?
Halloween's coming up, okay? That's
Okay.
All right. And then they had moved into the back alley that was like perpendicular to that street that they were on.
Okay.
And so like we were on the corner of that street, and then so they had both moved, and they were like 3 feet away from us, and then they went down this other street, and
Okay.
this is what happened there.
Oh no. Dude, orange shirt guy looks pretty outmatched.
Dude.
Oh, he got stomped.
Oh, dude, orange shirt guy
no.
was fucked.
Oh no. I like how there's this big group of people trying to intervene too. No, please.
Dude, he's walking right up and filming it.
That was Alex, the guy that was beside us in the first clip.
I like how there's sophisticated people at their tables too,
Yeah.
just trying to drink their drinks and eat their food. Oh man. Dude,
Yeah, bro, it was
That-
fucking hilarious.
that-
Dude, that fight went on for like half an hour.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Dude,
there was some other like
they
good
must have been
fucking shots that I
heavily
missed.
under the
Yeah.
influence.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like to be scrapping that long,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be drunk and mad about something and very
Yeah.
stubborn.
Oh, dude, yeah, that fight had been going on for fucking a while, man.
Dude, that was a crisp thwack.
Yo, throw a fucking quick replay on that slap. The motorcycle fall, the motorcycle fucking tip, and then the fucking pat.
Down goes the motorcycle. He's got him on the ground, pulls him back up to his feet, and then just lines him up. Oh, that was a quick strike though.
It was a good one.
He did not telegraph that at all.
No.
That was in the pocket, bam, out in the face. Wow, that's a good whack. I mean, the guy in the orange shirt also had the Chad sweater going, which throw it over the back and tie the little knot in the front. That usually means you're gonna get beat in a street fight. That's usually not the combat gear that you're looking for.
Well, and the guy in the orange shirt too, he was fucking, he was getting fucking mauled, bro, by the Jamaican looking dude, and he just he kept getting up and kept getting up and kept getting up, and then there was even a few times where the guys were fucking 50 feet away from each other, and then the fucking guy in the orange shirt would come back in and fucking
want more.
Yeah, one more. Well, and then while they were fighting, so that the guy in the orange had a pair of headphones around his neck,
right,
and they got broken halfway through the fight. So the guy in the orange was fucking pissed about his headphones getting broken. So he was going up to the guy in black, and he had his headphones and he took them off. He was like, "Look at what you fucking did to my fucking headphones," right? And then he gets fucking stomped again. So and it was just
was it obvious who the aggressor was?
Well, the aggressor was the guy in the orange shirt, but the guy in the black was the guy fucking just taking care of business, right?
He was. Do you know who was? There was no evidence someone was. No,
I did not see what the start of the fight was.
Right.
I think they were fighting down the street, and then they had came up to our bar, and they were still going, right?
Oh man. Yeah. So it does make you wonder then how long they were going beforehand.
Oh, dude, they went for a fucking while we were at that bar. And the interesting thing about being in Nice, France is, as soon as they started fighting, people were there. They were intervening. They were like, hey, they were separate. Dude, there was a crowd of fucking 8 people around these two guys trying to separate them for a while. And it's dude, that was really interesting, because here in Canada, you'd see 2 people fighting. Most people would be like, that's none of my business. Yeah. Right? Whereas, they're in France, everybody on that street was in there involved. You guys gotta fucking stop this.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then after that, fucking our buddy Alex that we had met there, that was giving commentary in the first video, he started calling the police, right? I pulled out my phone, I started recording him calling the police, but he didn't know the fucking the police number for France. And so he's talking to the bartender. He's like, what is the cop?
What's the 911 here?
What's the 911 here, right? And she wouldn't tell him, right? She was like, don't worry, it's fine. It's
right, because they didn't want to draw attention to their venue.
Yeah, exactly.
I could imagine that would be the case. Yeah. Well, that's awesome that you got to see that.
Dude, it was thrilling.
I mean, street beefs in general are they're fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch. And they were speaking French the whole time, but they were yelling at each other.
I mean, if the motorcycle is a collateral damage, it's a heated fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty evident that that Chad there is getting he's a mop.
Yeah,
he's a mop for basically.
But he was getting fucked up.
Basically, all those clips. He's a little bit outmatched.
Dude, my fucking favorite one is that last clip where he just fucking buddy just trips him, and he just fucking hits the ground like a sack of bricks.
Just down he goes. Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad I shared that. I'm glad I refrained from watching that until now. That's a sweet clip. So I thought of this question, Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably not all that relevant to the Paris thing, Nice thing, not Paris thing. But we were talking about some of our global history earlier. If there was an event that you could go back and erase from history, do you know what it would be?
Geez, man, I don't know. An event that I could erase from history.
Yeah.
We're talking like a human historical
Not
event.
necessarily.
Word. So like I could be like, oh yeah, like that time when I was like 13 years old and I embarrassed myself in class. I could be like,
You
I
could.
just delete that.
You could. You
no,
could.
bro. I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
I remember in first grade when I called my teacher mom.
I have hit that one before.
Yeah, I dropped the mom in first grade, and I distinctly remember this young man named Braden. I won't share his last name, but him laughing relentlessly at me and like pointing his finger, being like, "No way, you just said that."
Yeah.
We're 14 years later, 15 years later, and it is still stuck.
It's still
It's
he still
there.
brings it up.
It was Miss Hall in first grade in Strathmore, Alberta, and I remember dropping
And
the mom.
you dropped the mom.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. But I mean, if you want to go that, that narrow of a scope, you can. But yeah, anything. What would you take?
I don't know. It's hard to. It's
Or add.
That's
add.
a.
Let's
or
put that
add.
in. Or add. Yeah.
Well, because I was gonna say removing something is a tough one, right? Because there's lots of tragedies that have occurred in the past, but also that's what got us to where
They've
we
also
are
shaped-
today, right?
yeah.
That shapes, the modern day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to remove any event that happened in the past is to open up the butterfly effect or the Pandora's box, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Of who knows where we'd be today.
Yeah.
Add something. It's almost just as difficult of a question.
It is a difficult question. But I don't think it's answerless.
Calvin, do you have anything in mind? Because I'm really I can't.
Well, I
quite
mean,
go there.
I mean, a very clear one to me is get Mark Zuckerberg laid. That's
Get Mark Zuckerberg laid.
Yeah.
Before Facebook evolves.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of what we see in social media is just overwhelmingly toxic.
Yeah.
I think.
And do you think most of that is because of Facebook?
I think Facebook opened the door. I mean, Instagram is owned by Facebook.
Yeah, but Instagram was developed by a third party, and so they'd probably be pretty successful even if Facebook didn't buy them. But also, Facebook set a major precedent on how social media is run, right?
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And so Facebook being really the OG social media, that really opened up the. I think it opened up some positives, but a lot of downsides. And the direction that took, to me, just looks overwhelmingly negative.
Well, I mean, there's also the argument of there's Tumblr and MySpace, right, and Yahoo and stuff like that did exist before Facebook.
Yeah.
And who knows what they would have become without Facebook, right? But it is interesting.
I do just think that the removal of the kind of social media that was ushered in by Facebook. I think that format of I'm experiencing something and so I need to share it with the world. I think that format of communication takes away from your presence in the moment,
Definitely.
And
What am I going to post next? How do I want people to think of how I'm experiencing life, right?
And I think there's a specific enjoyment in that people find, and maybe that's an enjoyment that they wouldn't have found elsewhere. But I do think, with a wide lens on the whole thing, I think that approach of, I need to take whatever this is that I'm witnessing, and I need to show everyone because it's really cool. There are positives to that, but a large number of negatives.
Definitely.
And I think without that format, you are left with a more present population.
Well, I'd almost even argue that that's kind of like the natural evolution of social media, and less so a consequence of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg himself, right? Like without Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook,
Yeah.
you know, what's the likelihood that we'd end up where we are anyway? And I feel like it's probably not zero chance.
Yeah, I think it would look different, but yeah, probably not zero.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of what Mark Zuckerberg is doing, you know, in terms of metaverse type things, and you know, a lot of that would have never come to fruition if Facebook hadn't have taken off. And so I also think there's that side of it where, you know, it does make you think a little bit though about how much of that is inherently bad versus inherently good.
Yeah.
You know, even though that's the path we're on, and even though it might not seem natural to us, you know, what of these new technological advances are truly bad or truly good for us? Because there are certain things that could have come out of that end up as positives, but also a lot of negatives too.
Yeah.
So
social media is definitely a major dichotomy in modern day life.
I had a fantastic conversation the other day about the internet and some of the downsides that we might be looking at with the internet. And I think right now social media has a huge grasp on a huge portion of the population, where people are very focused on their cellular devices. People are very, you know, dialed into their devices and not so much with the world around them. And I think, you know, even in terms of, you know, currency, you know, we're dealing less and less in cash and more with our cell phones and virtual, you know, interactions.
Yeah.
You know, and like we said earlier, text-based communication, talking over the phone. There's an increasing amount of dependency on technological advancement and the internet. Now, an interesting thing with the internet is it's global connectivity in unseen proportions, you know. And so if, say, you know, our cash gets phased out, and
it's already starting to.
It's well on its way. It's well on its way. And so say we get to a point where all of our currency is digital. You could have the brightest minds in the world create a platform that they see as unbreakable. But someone who is more motivated than those people, who will always come along. There is always someone who is more motivated in time that will show up. Someone is more motivated to break the system than those people are to create it unbreakable. Someone can crack it. And so if someone from wherever says, I don't think you guys need to spend any more money, and bang, shuts off a country, you no longer have bills in your wallet that you can use to make transactions. Everything is digital, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. And so you need food, and you go to the grocery store and you say, hey, I need some food, we're starving. People in the grocery store say, great, we bought the food though, and we can't just give it away, and so you need to pay for it. And you go, well, we can't, because it doesn't work. You know, and then that happens across the board. If you can shut off the capital flow of a nation, or even in localized spaces, the damage that can cause it's unimaginable. But what's not unimaginable is that happening. Yeah. Because as we get more and more into this world of digital currency and communication, that can be shut off by someone who is really motivated to shut off.
You know, to go back to episode 4 of the podcast, solar flares, right?
The guy pulls a specific episode number. We're only going to be able to do that for another like 3 weeks. Yeah. It's going to be gone. Oh yeah, but the solar flares though. I mean, it was episode 4 with Otto Krumas in the backyard. Yeah. But
right? I mean, that's another thing.
But that's
not just one country, that's the whole world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, with our level of internet and connection, people are just, it's not slowing down. I mean, I know where you sit on social media. I know where I sit on social media, and there will be a population of the world that agrees with us on that. But it's not a majority of the population.
Yeah. Well, and even though we, agree that social media is probably not the healthiest thing, for us in our lifestyles. I mean, that doesn't make us immune to it too, right? Like, I can easily sit on the couch and fucking scroll YouTube shorts for fucking 3 hours and just, dude, it's brutal. It's brutal, right? Like, it just sucks you in.
The YouTube algorithm is good.
It's good.
They really know what they're
doing.
doing.
Dude, and the other thing that I was thinking about recently too is like these algorithms that are evolving. It's not just like they're preying on our psychology. Obviously they're doing that, but also we're starting to rely on it too, right? Like, dude, we like, dude, you will go through YouTube shorts and then you'll find a video that you want no part of. You this fucking TikTok or this YouTube short that I just saw, I never want to see some shit again like that. And so you just scroll past it as quickly as possible, and you're like, okay, I hope YouTube algorithm gets the idea that I don't want to see that shit. If I see one again like that, I will scroll as quick as possible, and it will learn. It'll learn that I don't want to see it, and then it does. Right?
Yeah, and so you're leaning on
and
that
so
algorithm.
you're interacting with that algorithm as well. You're like, okay, let me use this algorithm to my advantage, right? Yeah. So it's a two-way street.
I mean, the thing with the grasp that social media has on our population is, I mean the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
I have watched it. Yep.
So, that's coming from the people who basically built this stuff that are saying it's pretty nefarious.
Yeah.
It's not for your benefit. We are exploiting you. We are exploiting you to make money. And the effects of our exploitation on you are not yet fully known. And that side of things, if you're aware of that, if you know what those people are saying and you have realized how much the YouTube shorts have a hold on your brain when you're scrolling, and you can look at that and say, I need to make some changes to not let that be such a big part of my life. That is not a particularly large group of the global population that wants to do that, because
it's true.
Because what's happening now is you're getting an echo chamber effect with what you're seeing. And so if you don't want that information, if you're not looking for information as to why social media is bad, it's probably not going to come to you.
Yeah.
And so you won't even have the conscientious reaction of, oh man, this has really got a hold of me and it's doing some pretty negative things. I should reevaluate this. That may not even come to you. You could just scroll for the rest of your life. And because that algorithm knows that if it keeps giving you rewarding material and you like what you see, then you'll keep coming back. And it's not going to show you the things that you don't want to see, like why this might be bad for you. And so you're stuck. You're stuck in this loop where, because all your information no longer comes from newspapers or external resources, it comes from a device that watches basically your every move and knows exactly what you want to see. And it won't give you the things that you don't want to see. When you're stuck there, your information is closed off. And so there is going to be a certain number of humans that get caught in that bubble, and that is just going to continue, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And for those who break out of that, awesome, but that algorithm is getting ever more powerful, and to me it doesn't seem like there's any good way out of it, because it's not going to be brought to you. You have to go find it on your own. But if you don't have a reason to find it on your own, if your brain is telling you, we like this, your dopamine cycles are saying this is a good thing, let's continue this, you're never going to stop. And that's pretty freaky, man.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in to exactly why it's a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I feel like I feel like for us to just be like, oh, it's bad, but like most people don't know it's bad, you know, I feel like we gotta go into a little bit why we feel that it's bad personally. And, you know, obviously time wasting is a huge thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, productivity is an interesting thing. You know, without sidetracking too much, we have a society very much based on productivity.
Definitely.
And social media 100% detracts from that productivity.
Yeah.
However, not only does social media detract from productivity, it detracts from every other aspect of your life. I think from my personal experience, I find it unmotivating. When I'm left with an open weekend, it is very easy to spend hours on a device looking at a screen instead of going and doing something that might be healthy for you, going and spending some time outdoors, getting some vitamins,
getting some exercise,
right?
Go for a bike ride,
having interpersonal connections, you know, that all are good. Those are all good things for your brain. But if you are in that loop of social media, where I have definitely been, you don't do you don't do the same things in the world as you could be doing. And even though the effects of, instead of going out and spending that time on social media, may not be immediately apparent, I think it's a pretty bold statement to make, to say that has no effect on you. I don't exactly know. I'm not well researched enough as to how in the long term that truly affects you, but I do know that there are certain things that are good for you. And there are very real reasons for being social and experiencing the outside world, and an augmented version of that through a screen. There's just no way that's an equivalent. So at least
100%.
That's where I sit on that. I mean, you could really dive into a lot of individual aspects of that, and what parts of social media affect different parts of your life. But I think, to ultimately, you know, sum up the whole thing, I think you're missing out on a ton of human experiences that are important for your longevity and your health.
Well, and also,
and your well-being.
100%. And also, like, I find if I'm going on a fucking social media binge too, like, it's super easy for like all my clothes to like end up on the floor, and my kitchen's dirty, and like everything's out of order in the house. It's like, oh, doesn't matter because I'm entertaining myself, right? On my fucking
I don't have to worry
phone.
about that right now. There's a screen
because I feel fucking good about these fucking videos I'm watching, right? So who gives a shit about all
productivity?
that? But it's even worse. Like, I feel like if we had a society full of Minecrafters, we'd be better off, honestly, because
it's hard to say, man. Dude, Minecraft is extreme. Well, at least they would be productive for 10 out of the 12 months of the year.
Well, dude, and I mean, like, the thing with Minecraft too is that at least you're exercising some creativity, right? Whereas when you're just looking at a screen, just fucking getting content, just useless fucking content. I mean, like, you're not exercising creativity, you're not exercising fucking anything, really. Right?
But also, what good is creativity if you can't implement it?
It's true.
If you're only implementing in a digital world, what good is that creativity?
Yeah.
You need Minecraft breaks.
It has to be a balance.
Yeah, you need Minecraft breaks in order to implement the benefits of
100%. But yeah, man, that's social media.
I mean, I think, you know, it really does have positives. I mean, there are some truly beneficial things. I remember there was a girl from my high school who was diagnosed with a pretty rare kind of cancer. And the word about her cancer spread through social media, and was used to her advantage to go receive treatment in
Right.
another country, from a family who couldn't afford the treatment to get their daughter healthy. Social media, spread that out, and all of a sudden you've got these families who can really help. And now she doesn't have cancer and she's fully
Yeah.
healthy, and that would not have happened if it were not for social media.
Yeah.
And so there are things like that are undeniable benefits, and so it really becomes a question of at what cost.
Yeah, it's true, right? And without like a level of viewership from people, something like that wouldn't be possible, right? So if everybody is like, oh, social media is so bad, like I'm not gonna engage in social media, then stuff like that's not possible as well, right?
I saw a statistic today, actually, that in the United States, 6 out of 10 teens consider themselves daily users of TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a bit scary.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, 60% are daily users of an app. Now, that is probably an understatement, because kids are kids. And when someone asks you, how often do you use TikTok? You're going to say you use it less than you actually do. Right. And so I think, one, it's a bit of a skewed statistic because of the honesty of the people taking it. But also, we have no clue what that's going to do down the road. We haven't. It's a new thing. It's
crazy.
We are parenting in a new technology that we have no idea how it's going to turn out. We have never seen 60% of the youth population use this thing on a screen that, side point, is run by the Chinese government and has crazy monitoring capabilities on what you're doing. And it's garbage content. I mean, let's be real. It's not
Most of it.
Most
of it.
That's why I say
that was the other counterpoint I was going to give on social media, is that it does give you a lot of information, right? Like, depending on what kind of person you are using the app. Like, I know for me personally, when I do go and do a social media binge, which I'm not proud of, but the majority of the content that I'm getting is like good YouTube. It's information.
You're
right?
getting smarter every day.
You're getting smarter every day,
your,
right? You're getting you're getting like high quality information. But also, that doesn't take away from the time suck, right?
But also you sought that, right?
That's correct.
And I mean, there are a lot of people that love smarter every day, but I mean, there's probably only 5 million of us that do it regularly, and maybe 50 million who have done it ever. In the terms of that global mass, in terms of the people that are using social media, it's a pretty small number. And so once again, we are at the standstill of at what cost.
Yeah.
And so even though we can derive good information from that beast of social media, I don't think that a very large portion of the users are getting useful information from that.
I think you're right.
You
I mean,
have
how
to
many
seek
people
it, right?
load up TikTok every day and just watch 30 minutes of girls shaking their ass on their screen, right? Like, I mean, that's
true.
a huge amount of people that are just doing that, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know. I mean, TikTok is definitely in a bit of a special category on that, because I think it is complete brain waste.
yeah. I mean, you can't get super good information at that short of a time scale, right?
Yeah, and it's not like I'm speaking to that as an old man who just goes, oh, these youngsters. I've spent
because we both fall to it
way too much
all the
time
time
on that app. I used to have it, and I spent way too much time. There would be hours a day in which you'd get sucked in, and out of that, when I think back now, I'm like, oh, what did I gain from that? It's a massive zero.
Yeah.
Nothing. And that was from me, who, it's not like I'm some elite being, but I do like to seek information. I like to learn things. And for me to go back and say there were dozens and dozens of hours that were wasted on no knowledge to me, it took over me big time, you know, for a period of my life. And if someone doesn't have any form of refrain from that, it just take over entirely. There's no reason to stop. You know, it's like you get home and say, oh, I gotta scroll this for a bit, and then before bed you gotta scroll. And you wake up in the morning, well, before I go to work I gotta scroll. When you're at work, I gotta take a break and scroll. You know, at break time, scroll. Lunchtime, scroll. It's nonstop. So, I mean, I think to wrap up that conversation, I think we can say we both agree that there's a lot of negative to that. There's a bit of positive, but mostly negative.
Yeah,
I'd
agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What a crazy animal that is.
Social media, man, it's gonna shape our species for sure.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think in terms of impact in the future it might have? Because we don't know. So at least I don't know.
I think our attention spans are gonna be fucking shot.
Well, I think
sure.
We're already seeing that.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. And so what implications do you think that might have if the general population has a greatly decreased attention span? What might that do?
Jeez, man. I think it's going to make us less efficient workers, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to be
that.
much less efficient workers.
Right, but I mean, again, that's based on the pretense of productivity, right? So if we don't run on productivity, is that still okay?
I mean, jobs are going to change in the future for sure, right? Because if nobody in the population has an attention span, then nobody in the population is going to expect an employee with an attention span, right? And so, you know, jobs are going to change.
No one can conduct an 8-hour surgery because they got to hit some talk halfway through.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't know. I think social media will probably become part of our, you know, work life, right? In the future, I think social media is going to play a big role in your 8-hour shift every day, right? Because I mean, how do you keep your employees engaged without using social media to do so?
Oh.
Right,
Dude,
so you're gonna clock into work.
You're
gonna clock into work, and it's gonna be a bit of a social media fucking feed going on for you while you're also it's really hard to picture how that's gonna work. But I feel like, dude, you have to somehow play on the shortest attention span in order to get any work done, right?
Here's something for you, Parker. We used to have smoke breaks, right? That's much less regular now because a much smaller portion of the population smokes.
Right. In Canada.
Right. Yes, in Canada. But what if that moves to, you've got a media break where, okay, you've got your 15 minutes to scroll. Go hit it, because it is that same reflex in your brain. It's a dopamine cycle. Nicotine works very much in the same way.
It is
as hitting that social media does. And so I could see that. I mean, it makes me pretty uncomfortable to think about that being
it does it hurts,
but it hurts. It makes me feel a little guilty, you know, as a human. It's like, come on, guys, we can do better. But really, I mean, it doesn't seem like that much of a stretch from where we are now.
Yeah,
you know, and phones, I mean, especially among people our age and younger, are a big problem in the workplace. Like, I mean, you see,
oh yeah, dude,
you see people getting dumped on for phone usage at work because they can't help but to pull that thing out. And I mean, I know I've done it. I've done it before.
It's so bad.
And so I could really see that becoming a thing where employers are saying, all right, you cannot have your cell phone for this period of time. However, we will give you, you know, this maybe after every hour of work, maybe after every 2 hours of work, whatever it is. Scroll, get your hit, and then come back to it. You know, get that satisfaction. I could see that really not being, you know, all that far away.
Oh yeah,
kind of yucky, man. I really gotta pee.
Word. All right, me too.
T-game.
See you.
All right,
we are back. we have discovered that the video has not been going for probably about 30 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna be a videoless pod from here on out, and before as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, man, it smells unbelievable in here.
Yeah,
You notice that when you walk back inside?
dude, it does smell really good. We got these 4 fucking candles just absolutely ripping ass.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flames going. Yes, please. We got 7 flames going simultaneously, putting luscious aromatics into this space. We're also in the new pods, dude. I don't know if we...
Yeah, we are in the new pods, dude, and I was hoping to get into this earlier, especially when we had video rolling.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
That's okay.
Yeah, we're in the new pods, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And the new pods, dude, you got the acoustic paneling up. We got 6 acoustic panels in here. So hopefully it's... hopefully you can hear that in the audio.
I mean, it definitely makes a difference.
Even just speaking, right?
Just from our ears, there's very little reverberation in the room. It's a clean sound.
It is a clean sound.
Yeah. We're looking for some decor though. I mean, I've yet to fully consult Parker on this, but I mean, for any of you who saw the video portion of this episode, I mean, even if you didn't, we're looking for cool things for the pods, dude. We gotta add some stuff in here, and you know, it's in its early phases, but I do feel like this room has some potential for a clean setup.
Definitely.
You know, we can increase the permanency a little bit, and I think we can get it streamlined, but also looking good. I mean, we got some decent wall space.
Couple neon signs, you know.
Yeah, man, we got desk, and I feel like, you know, we can just we can add more and more in as we go. But what do you think? What do you think this room could use, Parker?
Jeez, man. For sure, a neon sign.
Yeah, a neon sign up there would.
Yeah, a neon sign up above the window would be sick.
Power is a bit of an issue, but doable.
Hey man, you're an electrician, right? You can figure it out.
Only so much. So much I can do. Yeah. I feel like the light fixture could really be swapped at some point too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of chandelier looking lights, man. I think the crystal chandelier is a bit of a dated look.
Yeah, it's definitely somewhat.
I think with the invention of LEDs, you know, and modern fabrication methods, there's a lot of better options instead of getting some gunky little plastic thing to hang off the ceiling. You know? But yeah, in the new pods, dude, we got I think a pretty good layout. I think, you know, a couple more people could fit pretty comfortably at this desk.
Oh yeah, we could get 4 people for sure. Going in this.
I do also like the face-to-face setup that we have now. I mean, we kind of did it with the old setups, but there was lots of side-by-side and kind of across the room type stuff. This, you know, it feels maybe a little bit more natural for conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
I feel like one thing with the face-to-face type thing is that, you know, 2 camera feeds would probably do us very well. But I mean, that adds a tremendous amount of load to the editing aspect of the podcast, right? Yeah. Because then not only do I have to link, you know, connect the audio and the video together a few times, because every time there's a break, I have to relink the audio and the video, right? When you add a second camera into that, then you know, every time you speak and every time I speak, you got to flip back and forth. And so how many times do we flip the speaker in a 2-hour podcast,
hundreds.
Right? Yeah.
Hundreds.
And so that adds a tremendous amount of load to the editing. But, you know.
So with that camera switcher, if you are doing live feeds, like you're getting 1 feed at a time. but
Yeah.
you're switching it as the conversation
Right.
goes on.
If you had a switcher,
Yeah.
you could get away with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just had two feeds rolling
yeah,
and then you
then-
took those two,
Oh.
dude, the editing load would be dude, it would take me fucking 11 hours to edit a podcast,
not
right?
feasible.
Yeah.
Not feasible.
But yeah, if you had like a handheld switcher,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that
Or
would be possible.
we just hire a producer.
Yeah, we hire a producer.
Get a guy to sit
Get a
on the
Jamie
stool.
Vernon up in here.
Yeah, get a guy to sit on the stool over there and switch him as we go on.
But yeah, that's really the only feasible way to get a dual feed going, right?
I think it's really something that I've realized, you know, after getting into this, you know,
Yeah.
how much really is involved with the production process of a well-produced podcast.
100%.
You know, because you know, no longer are you just recording guys dropping the costume, leaving me hanging. That's okay.
Bro, I didn't think you'd fucking go and say it because the camera's off.
Yeah, but he just dropped the costume. Everyone should know. He left me.
That
as,
shit is
you know,
super uncomfortable,
Princess
bro.
Peach over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. I'm wearing 100% clothing items that are not mine and from the dollar store.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, the production process that goes into a podcast is, you know, it's really impressive because you're not just dealing with vocals, you know, and talking at this point. You know, you've got video and, you know, recording even just on an audio perspective, good microphones, and then an interface, linking it to your computer, getting reliable recordings, you know, not missing an episode, doing it on a frequent schedule or on a, you know, a regular schedule. And then you introduce video, and then you've got editing to do, and you've got, you know, visuals to show listeners, and you've got cameras and linking those cameras to a computer, and all of that just adds up.
It's huge, man.
Where, you know, if you want a whole package of, you know, making a good quality podcast, you know, it's tough to do. With
it takes a lot of fucking work, right? Especially when we're just two dudes producing this podcast ourselves, right?
Who have day jobs.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're just you know, able to do this all the time. We have things going on, and, you know, the money from our day jobs primarily goes to paying for gas and groceries and rent and phone bills and everything else. And then, you know, everyone's
fucking weekends at the bar, right?
yeah, and every once in a while a little bit of scratch shows up that you're like, oh yeah, okay, pod money.
Yeah.
You know, and you can throw a little, you throw a little something towards it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very gradual process, and I think it's very tempting to want to do it all at once. You know, you just want it to be good, and so it's like, okay, here's everything we got to do. Let's just do it. But I mean, you got to take your time and like really focus on, you know, what is going to make the biggest difference here. And I think knocking those off one by one, you know, has kind of been the best way to do it. But I mean, it's still just a huge work in progress. But I mean, we're in a totally different space now.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got the camera that keeps evading us, and, you know, we've got all kinds of things on the go that I think as long as we keep picking away at it, you know, the production.
Well, we'll get it dialed in eventually
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, we're still pretty young. I think recorded episodes were maybe 13 or 14 at this point. Aired episodes sitting around 10.
I think this is 10.
Yeah.
I think this is 10 for aired episodes.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, for recorded,
But
we're
I mean,
definitely at 13 at least.
A lot of the podcasts I listen to, you know, are on episode 600
Yeah.
or, you know, whatever it is. And it's hard not to, you know, instantaneously compare yourself and go, okay, I want that level of production.
Yeah.
But that takes years.
But I mean, that's episode 600, right?
Yeah, years and hundreds of episodes.
I mean, think about the Joe Rogan experience. Almost 2,000 episodes. It's fucking crazy to think about.
That's ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't listened to that one in a while. I mean, as big of a podcast as it is, podcasting has grown to a size where, you know, all the aspects that you could get from such a big podcast can often be acquired in a more finite detail, in greater detail than what they would be covered in on that podcast. You can find those pieces of information elsewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're not a big podcaster, then, something like that gives very, wide conversation is good. But I do like the podcasts now more so that really get into, finer details of those conversations where there are deeper dives and more educated people speaking on the subject. Because it's not that hard to come by anymore. It's such a big platform where so many bright people are sharing great ideas that, you don't have to rely on old Joe for your information.
Yeah, that's true.
And I it's not me slamming him. I'm just saying you can get good quality information elsewhere.
I am a sucker for a good Joe, though. A good
It's
Joe
entertaining
is
for sure.
is a good fucking listen. Like I'll probably hit like one.
He's an excellent podcast.
I'll hit one good Joe probably every week. Yeah, probably every week hit one good Joe, and
probably a couple a month. I watch for people that I know.
Yeah,
I watch for guests that I'm familiar with. And then listen to those, which is probably a little closed-minded, but I do find a lot of new people on other podcasts as well.
Yeah, true. I'll hit like probably 2 or 3 Lex Friedmans a week.
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus, I'll hit a lot. I do love my Aubrey Marcus fucking podcast, man. It's one of my favorite podcasts for sure.
Yeah, word. Yeah, I think I probably listen to about 80% comedic podcasts.
Word.
I really like the Two Bears One Cave.
Yeah.
Your Mom's House. This past weekend with Theo Vaughn.
This past weekend's good shit too.
Congratulations with Crystal Lee.
Right.
Unreal podcast.
Yeah. You watch Tim Dillon's pod?
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of those comedic ones. Bad Friends is probably the number one that I look out for.
Yeah.
Every Monday I'm excited to listen
Bad
to
Friends is good shit. What about Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast?
Yeah, that's a gooder too. Yeah. I really like the dynamic though with Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino and even the guests that they bring on. They're just so silly. And on a Monday morning, it's like 7 a.m. and I'm like, give me the Bad Friends because it's lighthearted. It's ridiculous, but they're so funny.
Yeah, Bad Friends is good shit, man.
Yeah, but then later in the day, maybe I could I'm zoning into the work now. Could maybe listen to something a little more informative. I kind of go through like a daily podcast schedule in a way.
When you're at work, what's your balance of podcasts and music?
Probably about 70% podcast, 30% music.
Word.
That's
where I'm at.
I listen to music on my drives. I don't listen to podcasts in the car generally. It's almost always music. But at work, when I'm zoning into the work, it's podcasts for sure. Yeah, I mean, podcasting, is a big benefit of the internet conversation we were going on.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Well, I feel like podcasting and social media are completely separate in a way. I feel like a podcast is to a movie is what YouTube is to like a TV show,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that in a way. I mean, podcasts, I mean, some of them are almost done like audiobooks.
Yeah.
At this point.
That's true.
There's such variety out there. But, I mean, there was a time where, there were so many bright people, no less than there are in the world today that just had no method to get their works out to the world and no way to spread their ideas. And now there are people who are really bright, people who would never have gotten that chance before, that are now given this ability to share the thoughts that they have and the insights and ideas and intelligence that they can offer the rest of us, just normal people. Usually they'd have to publish a book. In history they'd have had to publish a book, and you'd go find that book and read it. But now it's so readily available, and these people can conglomerate. You've got great podcasters that can come together, for a 3-hour conversation, and in that conversation you could not write a book, but you can do a podcast that allows for information to be passed to the masses in ways that just wasn't possible before the internet. And I think that's a huge upside, because it's such a huge part of my life, and it's kind of what inspired at least me to want to do this in the first place. Was it just seems great to be able to have a conversation and share ideas, and thanks to the internet we can do that. It
is huge, man.
It is
fucking huge.
It is huge.
Yo, Calvin, did you ever end up watching that 8-hour podcast that Lex did?
Didn't get into the Lex one, no, not yet.
Bro, it is a fantastic podcast.
Yeah.
There's a reason that they went for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And it's a good reason. Right?
I mean, that's what we're
at like 2 hours, 2.5 hours
on the ticker. We're 2.5.
Yeah, but that's not including breaks, right?
Yeah, I would say we're maybe a little closer to 2, but a no breaker for like only bathroom breaks, just to hit 7 hours of podcasting. That is crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could do that. I mean,
dude, they were for sure in the studio for 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just an entire day of pod. Yeah.
And it was fucking gold all the way through, man. You gotta check that shit out.
I mean, it's Lex, man.
Yeah.
I think overall, every factor considered, Lex Friedman is the best podcaster.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Lex Friedman is the best podcaster out there today.
Yeah, he is such a phenomenal conversationalist, man. The questions that man asks, and I mean, he deals with the most controversial people on the planet, some of the smartest humans to ever walk the face of the earth. He sits down with them and has these conversations. It's like so much of his career has to be podcasting now. Like, I mean, it didn't start that way, but he's at a point where his podcasting achievements are starting to progress beyond the rest of his achievements. The podcasting is becoming so prolific for him, and he's unbelievable at it. He's
so good. And dude, the guy's fucking obsession with love is so hilarious, bro.
I know. Oh, poor Lex.
Fucking Lex loves love.
But also just a hyper intelligent human being.
Hyper intelligent.
Yeah. But I mean, some hyper intelligent people are not so good at conversation. He's very smart, but also I should just say he's smart in a lot of ways. He's not just book smart. He's very good at reading a conversation, very, very precise with his speech. The questions he asks, the way he can continue a conversation, it's definitely something to look up to as a below amateur podcaster.
young podcasters.
The babies of the pod. But yeah, man, podcasting, I'm glad we took it up.
It's super fun to do, man. There's no better way to spend an afternoon or an evening, right? Because, you could easily just fucking shoot the shit for like 3 hours, but I feel like as soon as you get 2 mics in front of your faces, you're more inclined to go deep with it, right? You're like, let's talk about some like real shit, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like, because we can just like make jokes with each other and just fucking make each other laugh for 3 hours, but as soon as you get the mics in front of each other, you're like, okay, let's see what's really going on inside that brain of yours, right?
I am smelling that.
I am smelling that. And I don't know. I just feel like that's the beauty of podcasting. I mean, even regardless of us sharing this with, on a platform or whatever, I feel like it's just good conversation that we get to have once a week, right?
From an egocentric perspective, even just for you and I, to be able to sit down and have a conversation, and just nothing else going on. We can just hang out here and talk and go as deep or as shallow into any conversation as we choose. And that's a rare thing in life, that your sole focus is on conversation. And so to be able to do this regardless of the success or listenership or how good the camera looks. It's a valuable thing nonetheless. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think that's probably a good note to end it on.
Dude, I was just thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that,
That's
we wrap it up.
That's a good wrap. You
Yeah.
got a good perspective into Parker and I's thoughts on podcasting. We both think it's a
Yeah.
great thing, and I think we should come back and do this soon. Maybe not a month and a half from now.
Yeah.
All right,
Hopefully
everyone.
next week if we can.
Thanks for listening. If you made it this far,
Yeah.
we'll be talking soon. Bye, everyone.
All right. See ya.